Well, hello again. During the time I was gone doing household chores around the outside of the house and in the inside also, I did manage to do a little bit of work on the Thunderbird, in between. Stuff that didn't take a whole lot of energy, because I was pretty depleted from doing the other stuff. And these two pieces right here are two of the items I did. This is the dash part that fits underneath the dash on the passenger side of the car, where the glove compartment would normally be. It was all rusted bad, if you'll remember. And this one here was rusted so bad. Look at the pitting in it. This is over by the driver's left knee, and that goes down under there like that. So I've got them all de-rusted, prime painted, all that crap. So what we're going to do now is flip them over. And I debated for a long time what to do with this rusted look here. I tried to get it off, it wouldn't come off, so it must be down into the... This is textured paint, and I don't want to strip it, okay? I want to leave it textured like that and kind of hope for the best. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little babies here on top of that wood. I want to get it up off the table here, like so, and then we're going to set this up here. And just go ahead and paint it like that, where it's up off the surface of the table. It's all been washed. All these marks here were stuff that just wouldn't come off. So we're going to go ahead and prime over it with this. I have white primer here. It's that'll work real good, because eventually we're going to be repainting it with this Wimbledon white in the spray can. So you can see the color it used to be. So look at the difference in the lightness here and the darkness here. This is cigarette smoke, I guess, and just cruddy air and who knows what. Anyway, we'll go ahead and give this a shot of the white and see what happens. Now the object here is not to lay on so much primer and paint that you lose your textured surface. Anyway, you just put something on light, okay? Hopefully that'll work. I have no idea what these three holes are for. Some kind of thing that goes on the dash, bolts to the back. I'll figure it out later. I'm not going to worry about it. You want to maintain that textured surface. The reason I'm painting white is because the Wimbledon white will cover it a lot easier without wasting the expensive paint. I'll still get it pretty good. Keep shaking. You got to shake that old can. I think before it's over, I'm going to have to probably do a quick sanding of the surface. Get it a little smoother, but that's okay. I can do that. I have nothing but time. Alright, we'll turn it around in a few minutes and paint the other side. Well, that takes care of two more items. I can't get too close with my camera because it does a terrible job on anything white. It goes out of focus. So tomorrow, I'm going to let this dry overnight. Tomorrow I'll put some satin clear enamel over the top. It won't look all shiny and everything, and it'll give it one more protection. Kind of interesting note though, here you'll see these little bumps here. They're not really bumps, they're not paint bumps. They're, I don't know, it looks like somebody pecked away at it with a knife at one time, punched little holes in there. I don't want to sand that down because it would make the hole even larger, because it would knock off the tops and then the whole hole would be exposed. And I don't want that to happen. We'll just leave it like it is. And this one here also looks real good. I'm real happy with the way these things turned out. One other thing I was able to work on was one of the corner balances, which is on the front, underneath the bumper on the front of the car. And boy, I'll tell you what, it took a half a can of paint remover to get this paint off. It took me 3 days almost, 2.5 days. And just a little bit at a time, And of course, underneath it was more of that funny looking filler that they had in there. So either this is, I think this might have been some body work done by somebody at one time. It's now listen to this. Now what's making that noise, Well, I'll tell you, anytime you take anything apart like this that's been welded, you need to check and double check all the welds before you start putting it all back together and paint on it. And you'll notice right here, this right here, the weld is busted. So I'm going to have to re-weld that. And then this one here doesn't look all that great. Look at that thing down there. I don't know. This doesn't look like, that doesn't look like factory welds to me. Factory weld is more like this here, okay? That just looks like a little spot weld, and so did this one. But we'll fix it, and then I can go ahead and clean this up one more time. By the way, once these things were just caked with road tar. This one had about a 1/4 of an inch of road tar on it. I had to heat it up with a heat gun on inside and outside before I could scrape it out. Once I scraped it out, I had a bunch of little pieces, you know, of road tar. And every time, you can't get it up or anything. And I went ahead and just sprayed it with Easy Off heavy-duty oven cleaner twice, and then gave it a washing, and all the tar disappeared. It's kind of neat watching that stuff dissolve underneath this oven cleaner. I got a lot more sanding to do hand-wise, and then I'll go ahead and prime this first. And then, but first I'm going to put some rust restorer on it, or rust converter. Then we'll go ahead and prime it and paint it black, you know, undercoat it and everything. So that's next on the agenda. I'll probably be doing this tomorrow. She is bright and early in the morning. The dogs got me up early, so I figured, what the heck, I might as well come out and do a little work. This has all been sanded down, and I've got to put some finishing putty around on this stuff here and level it up just a little bit. They had way too much body putty on that thing, and we're going to go ahead and just finish it off with that red finishing putty. But before I do that, I need to get this baby out in the garage and get that weld re-welded right there. So that's first on the agenda. Everything is set up. I put a little clamp on here to pull it tighter. I didn't want to have any gap there if possible. And you know how bad my welding is. If this thing survives, it'll be a miracle. And then of course I clamp the back side down too, so it's nice and solid. Anyway, it's kind of strange the way that weld broke, huh? Well, let's give her a shot, see what happens. Well, that's it. I know she looks ugly, but she's nice and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. Let me get a hammer. Alright, if she holds up to a couple of hammer beats, I'm happy. Well, it didn't do that. It broke. That's even worse yet, but it is a lot more solid. I'm going to come up here and put a few spots up here. Alright, that's a little better, I think. From someone who's a welder, they're probably in the corner puking somewhere. But anyway, that's a whole lot better. I've got that, and that. And she's pretty solid. Let's see what happens here. Yep, she's holding pretty good. Anyway, I'm done with that. We'll go ahead and finish up this valance in the next video. Right now, the video is getting a little long, so I want to get out and cover a few more tidbits, you know, a few more recommendations to those who might need to know the information on how to remove that dash. I said I would do it in the last video, so let's wrap up this video with that. It turns out there are 8 bolts that hold the dash in. These two up here are the first ones that I removed. I removed this one and the one over there where that round circle is. I shouldn't have done that. These 2 bolts I recommend that you take out last. You can loosen them up just a little bit if you want. It's up to you, but take them out last. They will hold the dash in place while you're removing the other bolts on the inside. I shouldn't have taken these out. And when you put the dash back in, these should be put in first, which holds the dash in until you can get the rest of the bolts put in. Well, let's find the last 6. Looking up under the dash, you know, from the inside of the car, this is what you'll see. Now, the first 2 bolts that I took out were the ones, you know, that I told you not to take out, or I recommended that you not take out. The one from the, you know, outside the car, it goes in here, and it goes in here. Okay, that takes care of 2 of the 8 bolts. 2 of the other bolts go up through the bottom here. One here, and up here. So that's, and they screw into the firewall. They're a bolt. And so that takes care of 4 of the 8. Now, over on the right hand side of the car, where it bolts, this dash bolts to the side of the I don't know, around the kick plate area down there. This dash sits on top of it, this bracket right here. But unfortunately, In my case, which is usually the case around here, you'll see that the it's a cage nut on the other side, and of course it's all sprung out, as you can see. So when I decided to go ahead and try to move it, you can see it just turned around, didn't do anything. It wouldn't hold. The nut is so frozen on there from rust that it just messed it up. So it just turns around and around. So I took the 2 bolts out here and here instead. So, but normally this bracket would remain on the car, and then you would just take this loose. So that's bolt number 5, or nut number 5, I guess. Nut number, there's a nut here, not a bolt. And number 6 is over here. This one came out the way it's supposed to come out. I took off the nut and it lifted right off that bracket. The last 2 bolts come up through. They're kind of hard to get to. I had to lay on my back and worm my way up through and get away from this stuff. I had to move it back and forth so I could get to the bolt heads. There's one here and there's the other one here. Okay, those are your 8 bolts that have to come out. Now I'm not sure, but this thing right here that looks like a boomerang almost, I took the bolts out here and I took the bolt out over here, so it seems to me that was fastened to the dash as well. Maybe not. One other thing you'll have to remove is this little jewel right here. You remember that one? It's got 2 bolts that go through here and 1 bolt that goes through there. On your gauge cluster and everything else you see in there's a whole bunch of Phillips screws you'll have to take out. You just have to eyeball that and take them out as you see them. That's all. Kind of, if you're a little nervous about where they go and all, they're pretty simple. They're all the same size pretty much. And my recommendation is you keep all the bolts you took out of the dash in one bag, which is this one right here. And I labeled that little thing in there dash bolts. They're all going to go in the Vapor Rust, every little screw, every little bolt, everything. In the next video, we'll open up that box and find out what's in it. And we'll take a look inside the car, a little more detailed look about what we found once we removed the dash. So until next time, this is John.